Gangs are running rampant, emptying out parts of New York City. Oh, look at the police! Look at all these people. This is total mayhem. This is crazy. They gonna arrest this guy? This is dangerous for the police. There's just so many anarchists, if you want to call them that. This is insane. How do you run a city like this? This place is collapsing before our eyes. This is just mayhem everywhere. Look, this guy, look how close this guy is. There's zero respect for the cops. This guy's wearing a mask, too. We've got masked agitators. Everyone's filming. But this is my biggest fear. Look at these guys trying to break into this apartment. This is crazy.
No.
If there were any Amazon packages in that lobby, they're gone now, let me tell you.
No.
Ooh.
Right, no.
Yeah, those guys are strong. Oh, are they getting in?
I'm getting a knife.
No, don't get a knife. Call the cops.
No.
Just lock yourself in your apartment. And you know what? Abandon the apartment. Abandon the apartment. Run, she's right. And here the police are making an arrest. Look, you got 3 cops taking down this suspect, and then you got his friend over here who the other officer's trying to hold back. Oh, it's the same guy? This Alphabet City in Manhattan right here. Ooh! Oh yeah, East 14th Street? Oh yeah, I know this area. Look, I don't believe the captions here because there's a lot of nonsense going on in New York City and you don't get 4 cops after you for doing nothing. I don't believe it. Look at how close his friend is. Yeah, they're getting way too close.
What's your name? What's your name?
Look, she knows how dangerous of a situation this is. Everywhere in this city, you have more criminals than you have cops and the law abiding.
You don't need to chase him, bro. He's on the ground for nothing. He's a child.
They finally got the situation under control.
What is wrong with you people?
I know they're calling this guy a teenager, but, I mean, he's got the same facial hair as the cops arresting him.
Unbelievable.
They beat on everybody now.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
What's up,
this is horrible, man.
fascist?
Fascist. That's what they like to call everybody with a badge these days. That's how it works. I feel bad for our sanctuary city police force here, I tell you what. Because the real problem here is after they put that guy in the back of that police car, he's gonna get released. He'll be right back out on the streets. But hey, if the streets are dangerous, let's just take public transit. Look at these guys, just going in. No shame. And you know what's funny about this is right here on the screen, see these little spike deals right here? Those are supposed to stop fare evasion, which you just witnessed, and they don't work too well because fare evaders are tougher than the no arrest way of dealing with their crimes. In fact, sometimes people are just jumping over the barriers in the subway and letting their friends in. What do you think that leads to down here? Do you think it leads to elevated levels of crime? It sure does. Let's watch this altercation at the bus stop right here. You got people breaking into the bus to get into it. And there's a scuffle on the bus. The bus driver evacuates. Look at this guy. He's got a machete. Why does he have a machete? And she and his girlfriend or whoever's here filming. This is insane. It's like third world crime, man. Machete crime on a bus in New York. They got a lot of gun control in this city. We're gonna need some machete control next. That's because obviously the violence is the fault of the criminal, not the tool they carry. Look, oh, she just sprayed something at the people on the bus. These are armed felons. That's who these people are. And you know what? There's no police, no sirens. Look at them running off. This is what happens when you don't put criminals in jail. They end up running the streets. This is crazy.
Station, a man tried to rob a couple, but what he didn't know, they're off-duty cops.
Eyewitness News
The
reporter
only
Josh
person
Ider at the scene
who stops a
with all the
robbery is an
details.
off-duty
Josh?
cop.
Joe and Sandra, these 2 officers are married. Their
And it took
husband
2
and
of
wife
them.
and had just worked a tour providing security to dignitaries at the UN General Assembly. Who knew the ride home from work would be
This
the
is a
most
crazy story, and if
dangerous
these
part of
weren't
their day?
police, would have ended very differently.
It was quite a shock for a trainload of commuters bound for Ronkonkoma tonight, who watched, stunned, as police tended to the suspect in the middle of the platform.
This is crazy. Packed train, roped off, no one's going home because of the actions of one criminal who's probably been let out of jail
It started
too
at the
much.
height of rush hour when police say the man threatened and tried to mug an
threatening people.
off-duty cop who was heading home with his wife, also an officer. The assailant wound up in a scuffle with the husband, and that's when police say the wife pulled her gun and fired.
Wow, she might have saved her husband's
Spent
life.
hours trying to make sense of the scene as the nightly
I'll help you make sense of the scene. You've got criminals who are roaming the streets, who are hopping on board trains, assaulting married couples on their way home. This is terrible.
commuter mayhem swirled around them. Sources say the 32-year-old suspect, who lives in a shelter in Brooklyn, has 5 prior unsealed arrests, mostly for assault and menacing, including one alleged assault just last month.
No, that person should be in jail. 5 prior assaults. This is crazy. This person should be behind bars. It's not safe to release them, yet they're out on the streets, and this was number 6.
And the investigation does continue. That suspect was hospitalized at Bellevue Hospital with a non-life-threatening injury. The husband, the officer he was scuffling with, suffered a laceration. Why did the other officer pull the trigger? Police say they're investigating whether the suspect had simulated having a weapon. It turned out he was not armed.
But he injured the husband. We just heard. This is so crazy. And what's even worse is if these weren't police officers, if this was like a private citizen, the city would crack down on that person. They would be persecuted.
Crime is rampant in D.C. It's rampant in our generally blue-run cities.
Yes, it is.
And they've got to do something about it, or they're never going to win another election. And instead of calling me a dictator, they like to say Trump's a dictator. Trump's a dictator. Well, I had calls from many, many friends, including Democrats. I have a lot of Democrat friends, but they're normal people. And they were thanking me so much for what I'm doing in D.C. They feel so safe already.
Well, that
D.C. was overrun with
earlier
crime
this month, and now a new survey is out involving mayors across the country. More than 60% say juvenile crime is a serious issue in big cities from coast to coast. The
Why is it not 100%?
Mayors credit the partnerships they have with various federal agencies, including the ATF, DEA, and FBI, with helping to reduce crime in their cities. However, money is now a major issue.
I disagree with people who say funding is the problem. I think empty jails are the problem. A lot of these big cities, like New York especially, we've decriminalized the actions of people under the age of 18. If someone does something and they're under 18 in New York, unless it's really bad, they get released back to their parents. They go to a family court type of situation. There are 0 consequences for youth crime. And you know what that does? That means that between the ages of, let's say, 12 years old and 18 years old, a teenager can have a master's degree in committing felonies without suffering any consequences for their wrongdoing. And then they're 18. What do you think that does to the criminal population in New York? It hardens it and toughens it and gives it more experience than the police who are supposed to arrest these people.
A quarter of big city mayors say they've lost federal funding in the past year. 70% say they don't have adequate funding to continue their anti-violence initiatives.
Those initiatives don't work.
Yeah, it's really a fascinating conversation, Nicole, because a lot of these big cities are reporting positive downward trends when it comes to crime. However, we know that crime is being framed as one of, if not the...
They're all reporting that crime is on the way down, and then Trump gets there with the National Guard, and guess what? It gets even lower, man. It gets so low that it almost makes it look like the downward trend was a myth.
Biggest voting issue heading into those midterms come next year. And the videos that are all across the internet and on the airwaves
look at this.
show the problem at hand. Take a look, for example, at this brand new video out of California. A wild smash and grab heist resulted in $1 million worth of jewelry gone.
And you know what? $1 million worth of jewelry. Guess who's robbing this place? Do these look like teenagers to you? These look like a bunch of middle school kids that are going to go steal millions of dollars in jewelry? No, these are the same people that were robbing a 7-Eleven before they were age 18 and got tons of experience stealing and evading law enforcement and running away. They're hardened thugs by the time they graduate, and then they go out and do stuff like this and nobody can stop them.
In an instant, It's videos like these that keep business owners and the general public on edge.
Of
they
course.
look towards their leaders for solutions. Executives
look at all these malls getting looted.
Conference of mayors, they're meeting today to discuss action plans moving forward. Nearly 6 in 10 big city mayors describe juvenile crime as a serious or a very serious problem. Grant,
because it's legal. It's non-punishable. It's decriminalized. Of course, if you decriminalize crime, crime is going to be a huge problem.
You know, and Alex, so much of the president's plan for tackling crime has been either threatening to or actually sending in the National Guard. And you have some new information today about Guard recruitment.
Yeah, big numbers that are coming out of the Department of Defense today. Secretary Pete Hegseth says that they have had their strongest recruiting performance in 30 years. In fact, the National Guard's total enlistment now is nearing 500,000 people with 50,000 new.
Americans are ready to take our country back from the criminals and the lawlessness that is sweeping over certain parts of it. Regular law-abiding people are sick and tired of stories of married couples getting robbed, sick and tired of mobs just plundering downtown Brooklyn like we saw earlier. This is just crazy. Why are people allowed to break into apartments and ransack the homes of the law-abiding, forcing them to scream at each other to run away? This is terrible. Americans want to see an end to this.
Recruits brought in just this fiscal year alone. Hegseth says year-to-date, enlistments exceed 106% of its target.
Nice.
In fact, I just got off the call with the Illinois National Guard. We're going to be playing some of the sound from our conversation next hour on News Nation Now. But interestingly, back to that Conference of Mayors, not a single one of them actually listed the National Guard as being a partner federally that they would want to see come in and clean up crime. We know.
Because that would mean the reason these big city mayors, these big city doofuses don't want to see the National Guard come in and solve all of their problems is because that will immediately prove that these problems are created by decriminalization, by defunding the police, by